For this series of videos, I will be using the Technical Drawing with Engineering Graphics 15th edition. This is the Kindle version. Has nice updates and graphics references AutoCAD and SolidWorks in the details, and pretty much if you have any of the technical drawing books, I usually would say back to about the 9th edition is where it crossed over to where there was plenty of metric as well as the inch dimensions. So the technical drawing series, first edition was 1933 and 1936, and really there was 5 or 6, 7 editions up through the early 70s, and then as technology advanced and we got more into the computers and technical drawing became more computer graphics and design, that we saw this progression. And a lot of these drawings are still very much hand drawn. They refer back to the castings processes, to manual machining processes. There's things that we could do to optimize for CNC and current manufacturing production. So, we'll take a look at those where it will be to our advantage. And so I'm just gonna start with the rocker arm here. This is a sketch. We have the front view to pretty much determine if this is a boss or a recess, meaning that this circle is coming towards us as a positive, or cutting into the part as a negative. We would need that side view to have that additional information. So quick comments on the inch decimal, that when we see 0.62, that should be something that jumps out at you as that is a fractional 5/8, and if we carry it out, 0.625. If the process that we're working in is going to be that precise, if we're going to carry everything to 2 decimal places, then we should be fine. But in the assembly portion of this, if it comes down to clearances, interferences, that 5/1000ths maybe make a difference. So if it, also if it was going to be some kind of stack up that we had 0.625 every 5 times, and then the 5/1000ths plays in, that would put our last position at 25/1000ths. So when we talk about baseline and chain dimensioning and ordinate dimensioning, we'll look at those a little bit more. So initially we're going to stay with the 2 decimal places, and we'll refine it as we go. Another assumption is that you've watched some of my other videos, or you've watched SolidWorks videos. You have some sense of the operation, the commands, where everything is located. I'll mention those as I go along, but it's not the the real focus of these videos. So the welcome SolidWorks. This is SolidWorks 2021. I like to overlap and kind of introduce, and it's that time of year where we can start going into 2021, and the education version will be out in June or July. So the welcome to SolidWorks, I don't really use that, so we'll close it. If you want to bring it back, you can click on the welcome to. Notice that you get a parentheses. Control and F2 will also bring up that window. This installation has multiple templates that I've created over the years, and what you should have at the very least is your part inch, nope, this one's not it. Okay, so you should have a part, a drawing, and an assembly in various units. So probably should be back on this one. There we go, part, assembly, and drawing. And if we open up the standard part, then that will take us into the default configuration when we loaded the software. So a couple things on my screen. I've added a few icons to the heads-up display, things that I use. I'll pull up, we do this, I just refreshed my laptop and did a fresh install of SOLIDWORKS 2021, so it doesn't have necessarily all these items yet. So when we do the customization, I'll refer back to it. The feature manager, we have a few more items over here on the tabs that we can pull out. See, we're not going to be using sheet metal, so I'll open up a little more room by turning the sheet metal off. That should be okay. And one thing with 2021 that was nice is that you can collapse the command manager, so it starts to operate kind of like the taskbar. If you have limited space, when you click on one of the tabs, it will expand out, and then when you click back into the work area, it will collapse again. So for our drawing, you should be familiar with the feature tree, the pull down menus, the standard part title bar, searching commands. The help that was formerly over here is now on the question mark, and then pretty much the task pane. One of the common things that happens is the task pane will get turned off, in which case you come up to the gray area, go into the toolbars, and you'll find the task pane. I want to say there was a hotkey for that, but that's usually the way it manages to get turned off. And the other, since there's more than one way, get to it, is we'll go to View, Toolbars, and Task Pane. Whenever you see the little arrow, there's going to be more off of the screen. Okay, so right now I'm in that standard. So some of the things that I would like to see, we can come up to the little eyeball. Whenever you have that line, that separator, you'll want to make sure that you're doing the pull down, and hitting the eyeball itself is going to turn everything off or everything on. So what I just did was pick the origin, and yes, I would like to view the origin for my drawing, that little blue origin. As I go through the hotkeys, Control 1 puts me in the front view. I'm going to check real quick in my options, make sure I have this set up for the see, document properties. No, we probably just need to be in the sketch. There we go. Auto rotate view, normal to sketch plane on sketch creation. So if I was in that isometric view and I open up my sketch, and I have a long habit of right clicking on the front plane and hitting the sketch, so I pre-selected. If we're in the sketch command manager and I just tell it to sketch, it's going to come up and ask where I want to place the sketch. So we'll go to the front plane, and that rotate is going to bring it in. My origin goes from blue to red, and just a real quick review, short leg is horizontal, long leg is vertical. So if I rotate this around holding the middle mouse wheel or using the 3D mouse, I can always kind of keep that that perception of where my orientation is. All right, so let's go back and take a look at the rocker arm for exercise 3.8, and everything kind of goes through the center of this circle. So I would think that that would be the origin, and I would start drawing circles. And one of the things in preparation for the CSWP, which is kind of my intent, is the professional exam is pretty much accuracy, speed, being able to read through the instructions, decipher what the intent is, and then pretty much start your drawing, commit to a process, and then be able to complete the task. So on the sketch, we'll go into circle, and I'm going to do this several different ways, and then I'll fall into old habits. So 1.75, that would be a radius of about 0.875. We have the inner circle, and then I'm going to have two circles over here. And when I'm picking up those inferences, and I'm looking for that little yellow dot that says I've picked up those geometries, and that's giving me a desired result. All right, so if I move these, they move together because they have that coincidence or concentric relation. So between the circles, we would be concentric. Between the center points, we would be coincident. So if I click on one of these, actually not seeing either of the relations. Okay. Well, it stayed, so there's always possibility that it provided a merge, which merges the one relation that always is seems a little weird, that it doesn't come up with an actual relation. All right, so pick up the tangent arc. Oh, I don't have an endpoint, so tangent arcs require the endpoint, in which case we'll just go with the 3-point. Start there, click to the end. I guess I could click. Let's see, if we go sketch entities, we'll go ahead and start introducing some of these other options. Center point arc, tangent arc, 3-point arc. Try that again, make sure I don't get too button happy. Pick the endpoint, get them close, and since I wasn't able to pull the tangency, then I'll go ahead and select, control select. So select the circle, hold down the control button, select the arc, and we'll set that to tangent, and then I can click right into my next object, select the arc, go to tangent. All right. Alright, so this is getting a little further along, so let's go ahead and start putting in some dimensions. The outside was 1.75, and the inside circle, oh, that was a radius, so it was actually 3.5, so that's going to mess me up here in a second. Well, let's go ahead and we'll put it in as 3. And I'll come back to this one. And if I wanted to see that as a radius, let's go ahead and click on that. We'll go over to the leaders. I'll switch it from diametral to radial. And jump back over. Now let's see, where's my tooltip? Diameter, radius. Okay, so I can see that the 0.88 shifted. And what I was looking to do was just come over here and bring that back. All right, so as things adjust and move and we realize that some of our items aren't as we quite expected, then we'll come back to the geometry. All right, so diameter, this again is a radius, so 1.5. We do the math off the top of our heads. We said that we're going to stay with the 0.62 as our geometry, and then from the top down, 1.75. We'll give it a horizontal of, well, can't do that one because it's a stack up. So I'm just going to Control Z. Want to be a little careful with the Control Z because occasionally it will back up, but from what I've been able to look through is the redos have gotten a little bit better. All right, so since these are the same, rather than putting dimensions, my design intent will probably be that they're going to stay equal, and that's easy enough to identify. So select, Control Select, set to equal, and that pop-up is going to be faster, easier than setting it and always coming over to the left. Occasionally we're doing multiples. We'll apply the first one and then come over and do the second. All right, so since I didn't create center lines, I may or may not need a center line. We'll go ahead and pick the two center points, make those horizontal, and then to Smart Dimension, again on the end context, it comes over 3 inches, and then we're working backwards to the other circles with 5.62. All right, and then this radius we can finally do a little bit more with by telling it it's 5 inches. All right, so we weren't really given this center point. We're relying on the tangency between between those two circles to be able to determine our geometry. Alright, so we can go back up to the sketch and pick the line. We can right click, go to sketch entities and pick the line, and then as we get a little bit more comfortable, we can do the L on the keyboard, and that'll take us right into the line. Okay, and then I need to escape out of that. I think if I had hit, well, let's see. And again, there's habits that I've developed that, alright, so we're in that click click. If I right click, switch dark, or in chain is double click. Alright, so gave me the extra one. I'm better off just hitting the end of the geometry. Alright, so we're going to make sure that that's tangent, and then select, control select, and make sure that's tangent. Alright, so looking pretty good. The next arc, let's go with the right click, sketch entities, and we have one more that we can do. Okay, so that gets that pretty close. We have one more that we'll do on the next go around. Alright, so tangent, and set a dimension, and that is 1.5. So since it's an arc, it's already set to the radius, and the circles will always go to the diameters. Alright, so under sketch entities, let's see if we can pull up the polygon. So we've got our rectangles, parallelograms. Nope. Oh, there we go, polygon. I knew it was in there somewhere. Alright, so we need to decide if this is an inscribed or a circumscribed circle. This is going to touch 1.75 at the inside points. So if my dimension is across the flats, the circle will be inside, so inscribed. And if the circle or the dimension is across the tips, the points of the polygon, then it would be circumscribed, and we would have that dimension, have that circle on the exterior. All right, so let's go ahead. We can put the dimension between, or I can just go ahead and dimension the base circle and have the same effect. All right, so that is 15 degrees off. We have a couple of ways that we can dimension that. Probably the easiest will be to set a center line. So let's go ahead and make it infinite length. We'll go ahead and get that started. An infinite length vertical, and I'll place it. Alright, and the advantage of the infinite length center line is that I won't run out of center line no matter how big this gets. And then the next would be to, let's go center line again. And we'll bring that from the origin or from the center of the polygon up to one of the points. Dimension between the two, and we'll go 15. Alright, so the radial diametral, when you're going between two center lines, doesn't really apply. We'll find some places where we can utilize that. And normally this would be where I would go ahead and start extruding out. I don't really care about the contours, regions. I will build those into my models and probably share this sketch in a couple of different ways. But this gives me a single point for all of the geometry, and since we're just sketching this and we want to make it a little bit closer to the drawing, I don't usually trim, but in this case we will come up to trim entities, and I prefer trim to closest. Power trim is maybe a little harder to control. There's times where it can be faster, but this isn't going to be overly complicated to trim out those 3 or 4 items and end up with our sketch. And we'll get out of the trim, get out of the sketch, and verify our geometry. All right, so we need to figure out a place to save this. Our file management is always going to be pretty good top priority. So this is going to be my folder, and probably not going to have too much in the way of duplicate names. I'm going to stay with the exercise 3-8 instead of the point. It's kind of a preference, either 3 underscore or 3-8, and then we'll save it. Alright, that gives us a good start. We're on our way.